Are you happy with the direction that we're heading with regards to all the progress? Is there things that we should be careful of and be aware of?
I mean, we certainly need to be careful and aware of all the AI stuff, the artificial intelligence stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah. So elaborate, please. Since you're an expert in your space, what exactly is it that we need to be aware of?
AI can make a lot of fake information and fake videos and fake pictures really, really easily.
Okay.
And with a couple of simple prompts, it can make a whole lot of stuff that looks very believable. Thankfully, it's not great right now with some stuff. Like people only have 5 fingers for the most part. But AI loves to create images with people with 6 fingers. Because it can't handle hands for some reason. It just can't right now. That's
the funniest thing to me.
It's the weirdest thing. So this is one of the ways you know when things are faked. If people that you know don't have 6 fingers have 6 fingers, then suddenly there's something wrong with AI because we know the AI is generating it. And some of the AI that's out right now is creating some very weird images that don't match what the world looks like. Some of the AI systems will only create images of white people. Some of the platforms will only create images of not white people because they've overcorrected. So I know at one point recently, if you went to one of the systems and said, "Hey, make me an image of the Pope doing X," it would be a black guy. Last I checked, the Pope's not black. Hasn't been. And the fact that he hasn't been is a separate issue. But so AI is doing a lot of things that are not the same as real life,
right?
And and some of it's learning, and some of its programmers are overcorrecting. And then you've had some of the systems that have been trained on the internet just go absolutely crazy. I know a few years ago, Microsoft released a chatbot, and they trained it on basically Twitter. And within like 12 hours, it became a racist, basically piece of crap. Because it was just starting to spew out hate speech because that's what it was picking up on Twitter, because that was the prevalent set of tweets that were coming out at the time. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful how we're training these things. Otherwise, they're going to have a very skewed view of the world, and they're going to then skew things further. I know in the IT space, one of the problems we've had is AI generating content. So generating technical content on how to do things. And it's generating wrong content because the posts it's picking up on how to do stuff are wrong. And those original posts were written by people. But it's then now publishing posts that are written by AI. Well, now other AI is picking those posts up and using those as source material.
Oh, no.
And so we're just getting more and more stuff out there that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's becoming harder and harder to figure out what's actually right. So I was literally working on a system yesterday.
That's crazy.
Where one of the requirements of that system is that you use Windows 2016 to install the software on. So the first thing I did is I throw into, I think it was Bing, it was whatever Edge uses as its default search engine. Can this system use Windows 2022 to install? And Bing pops up, yes. I'm like, okay, so apparently it thinks it can. And I start reading through the source material that it's using to make that determination, and it's got nothing to do with what I'm asking it. And in fact, when I go click through a bunch of times and actually get to the actual requirements of the system I'm using, it flat out says only works on Windows Server 2016. So I'm like, okay, but so the AI is clearly wrong, but it thinks it's right because it's finding some other material that's close enough that it thinks it's right.
So it's taking non-factual information and giving it as
fact, yeah.
And that's where you're still going to have to do the human legwork of going in.
You're still going to do the human checking on a lot of this stuff, which is annoying because we are trying to use this stuff to save us from having to do all that legwork.
Right.
And we're still having to do a lot of that legwork.
Okay. I'm so excited about this question. Okay. So everyone is talking about, I'm in real estate. A lot of real estate professionals and marketers, they talk about how you leverage AI to be more proficient at the things we all got to get done. What is the best way, since you're, in the space, you're living it, you're seeing all the progress. If I'm a small business owner, what are effective ways that I can leverage AI to help make my business more efficient?
There are some ways. There are some things that AI is really good at right now.
Okay.
A lot of things AI is still trying to figure out. Part of the problem with AI is it looks cheap to do this stuff. It is actually not cheap to do this stuff.
Okay.
So I'm going to use Microsoft Copilot as the example. Microsoft Copilot looks relatively inexpensive. Buying a Copilot license is like $15-20 a person per month. So relatively inexpensive, especially, you get a 5-person shop, $100 a month. Microsoft is spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a month running this thing because they've got to buy an immense number of cores to run this thing, an immense number of GPUs to run this thing. So suddenly the economies of scale get very screwed up very fast. So that because of that, it gets very hard and expensive to train these models on good information. And so it can get very hard sometimes to trust what you're seeing from the models because of they may not be getting trained on the right stuff. And part of that then is, where do we get the right information? Somebody's going to go find the right information to train the model on so that we don't get bad stuff. So it gets very, very hard, very fast.
The waters are diluted. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So it's because if you increase the cost, then the demand can diminish because somebody's not going to pay $120. Interesting.
Right. Especially when you've got 10,000 employees and they all need access to it.
Right.
Like the scale gets very screwed up very quickly.
Now let's get insight from Denny. Is Denny a fan of AI?
I am to some extent.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense in some cases. It does not make sense in others.
What cases does it not make sense for you?
Where it doesn't make sense for me is probably trying to figure out some of the more technical things. Because it's not there yet.
Okay.
I know one of my friends has been playing around with Copilot for SQL Server. One of the guys who works for me has been playing around with Copilot for SQL Server. And he said it's doing a decent job on the simple stuff. Once you start throwing more complex queries at it. So the nice thing about Copilot for SQL Server is you can basically tell it in plain English what kind of report you want, and it will just make it for you.
Perfect.
Which is what we're looking for. And it does a great job with these simpler things.
Right.
Once you start having a more complex data structure,
right,
and more complex set of requirements in your reports, things just fall apart awfully fast. And people, I think, are a little too trusting of what it generates to use what it's got, because people just present those findings like, that's wrong.
As fact.
Yeah. And they're if I'm asking it for sales information for the last 5 years and it's not showing that to me and I'm presenting those numbers, that's a problem.
As fact.
Yeah.
And now I'm all of a sudden I'm putting all this content out that's actually not factual, and then it's picking it up, and now you have the got it.
Yep.
Interesting. If you enjoyed what you saw, like, share, comment, and forward to someone that this will bring value to. Thank you so much for all the support. We appreciate it.